collaboration with the ECH of the RUSA in Madras University. We have them here, eagerly waiting to listen to you. And for the sake of the audience, although we have sent you a digital banner about Dr. Charu Malhotra, I would like to brief you about her. Let's forget about all that she is qualified to do on this earth in this life. She is a great person to be with, to know, and I have been there with her amidst all those young, budding researchers, and I know the way she is taking them forward like her family, and that's a big thing to do. Salutes to you, ma'am, for that. Apart from that, she has 30 years of rich academic experience, both nationally and internationally. And her professional areas, you talk about anything digital, she is into it. E-governance, digital India, design thinking, digital transformation, smart cities. You talk about digital villages, data protection, privacy, cyber security, digital safety. Any of these, you will find Dr. Charu Malhotra right in the middle of it. And when we talk all these jargons, I don't want all these young kids to get startled. I'm sure they will be grappling with all these as they are growing up, unlike the generation that we are. But still, I'd like them to connect it with a very small anecdote which I can narrate, a parable with which they can connect this security and cyber and data and all these languages. I'm sure these children here would be familiar with some of the great stories that have come up from our state, Ponniyin Selvan's Kalki's Ponniyin Selvan, where you have the central character Vandiyadevan going and delivering a message to Nandini, and the encryption, decryption, the codes, all that we talk today has been referred in those stories themselves. They have a ring. Only with the presence of that ring, the message is considered as valid. So all these date back to several years, and today we have modernized so much, and we are grappling further with the facts of security and data and all of this. And we have Dr. Charu Malhotra here today, who is an award winner for a woman who has struggled to protect the data privacy in our country. She has been awarded with the Lead India Power Woman Award in 2021, the Nalanda Pride of Knowledge Award again this year, 2021. She has also been awarded with the Global Smart Cities Leader in 2019. I feel she is a person beyond all these awards and recognitions that come materialistically in terms of a plaque or a certificate, but she is a par exemplar for any kind of recognition that can come to her. And I'm sure all these students are gifted here to listen to you today, ma'am. Thank you for accepting our invite, and very specifically in such short notice, ma'am. I leave it to you to take on the session, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vanati, and it's a delight to meet an eminent professional and a kind human being as you are. And when it comes to, I'll take the last thing of yours as the first one. The fact that the invite came from you is something I couldn't refuse. If you would know where I'm sitting and how I'm sitting, you would understand how tough it was to figure it out today, how to make it possible. But I think destiny wanted me to be with you again in terms of virtual reality and also be with these wonderful students. I can already see 90 of them logged in, which is such a wonderful, thing. I mean, you have been also able to rustle up something like this is commendable. And I really thank you for taking that initiative. Now, without much ado, Dr. Vanati, if you permit me, could I request you to please ask any of the students to specifically come out with what they expect out of this class? Because I want to do it in a manner which is digestible and easy to understand, because I personally feel this is one of the most important topics that is required to be understood in today's COVID times. So I do not want to go at a different trajectory than what is the expected speed or the perception of the students about the problem. So I'm muting myself. I give you 2 minutes. You could identify any student who could share with me what do they expect out of a session which is essentially on cybersecurity and digital safety?
Right, ma'am. Can I request the audience to please come up with what ma'am has asked for, as to what you look for in any session in cybersecurity? What are the threats that you have seen and felt in your life? Can someone please unmute yourself and talk?
Hi, very good morning. This is Vendimal from UNOM. So when it comes to cybersecurity, we are nowadays hearing credit card breach and the online transactions that is happening unauthorized. So these are all coming to mind at the first right.
That's nice. And is there anyone else who has faced or experienced or heard any kind of digital threats, so that you would want yourself to safeguard yourself on that front, please?
Ma'am, good morning, ma'am. This is Jiva. Ma'am, I
Yes.
want to know about the cryptocurrency, ma'am. This is the leading technology to uh, to deba redund the policies, everything.
That's nice. These children are really up to date. They want to know what cryptocurrency is. Anyone else? Can we have anyone else from the audience to seek questions from ma'am? Yes, I think we can take
Hi,
it
ma'am.
forward from here, ma'am. Yes, someone?
Hi, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. This is Jonathan.
Yes.
The cyber attacks are constantly improving, so I would like to know about the latest trends and latest informations about cyber attacks, attack techniques.
Lovely, lovely, Jonathan. So, ma'am, I hope you have an ambit to start off and take off these children with. Please do, ma'am.
Yeah, Dr. Vanati, perfect. I must appreciate the students are quite, clear of what is expected. However, at the outset, I would like to tell Jiva, the discussion on blockchain, cryptos, and NFT, non-fungible tokens, requires another 1 hour with all of you, which I would happily do. But now, not on such a short notice, Dr. Vanati. So please bear with us. When it comes to crypto, we would not be touching anything. It is like a vast sea, and I don't want to mess up this concept with, thank you, Jiva, for understanding, with what else has been vocalized. Yes, other two, you were bang on the point. The first student asked about financial frauds, and the second student asked about techniques, and this is precisely what we would do. When it comes to presentation, Dr. Vanati, because of bandwidth connectivity, I'm not able to load. I'm sharing that presentation with you. You just have to change the date. This was also given yesterday, and share it with all of them right now if you are with them in WhatsApp or Yahoo group or whatever group, so that they are at pace with what I'm discussing. However, I would go impromptu because your students seem to be quite clear of what they expect out of this. And the idea of a presentation is to just ensure that there are blinkers in the discussion in the manner that we don't deviate from the set target. Since you were very explicit in giving me the target, so I could do away with the presentation to optimize the bandwidth. Okay, so dear students, I would start this discussion with recent threats that I have encountered in my life through my friends like Dr. Vanati and other people who are indirectly known to me through the seminars that we conduct. I'll just pick up the last evening discussion. Somebody called Aarti from Maharashtra called me up saying that she's downloaded an app which is to write poetry, and now she's getting obscene messages on those apps. And she does not know what to do, and she has, exited that app. Now, this is another kind of cyber threat that we figure out has become more prominent than even financial frauds, which is called as cyber bullying. Okay, cyber bullying, cyber trolling, cyber memes are something which particularly one particular gender has been reporting to us for pretty long time, but during COVID times we found it has manifested itself in various ways, including journalists reporting this kind of threat. Okay, I take you back to 3 days earlier. 3 days earlier, my best childhood friend, Sunita, she herself is an IT professional and having a startup where she is employed almost 200 employees. Her daughter-in-law reported being on online trading and she lost something like 2,36,000 rupees. It was a WhatsApp group link she got which said she could multiply money and whatever she would invest, she'll get double of it. And to prove it, certain phone numbers were shared with her, which she checked up diligently and figured out all of them were very happy with this particular multi-level level marketing, MLM. And without telling anybody in the family, she started investing in it bit by bit. She invested 5,000. In 5 minutes, she got a credit of 10,000. She gambled a little bit more and eventually she reached a stage where she realized they are not responding to her when the amount crossed 2 lakh. Okay. Now, this was very shocking and she debited her amount of investment from 3 different banks. This is important for you to know because I would share with you later that how we tracked this in 3 different banks and how different banks had different reaction to this. Okay. Then I take you to another case study which I encountered where one student of ours, actually I teach government officers. However, these students come to me through, friends like Dr. Vanati on holidays, where one of the students, she is a daughter of a very rich commissioner of our country. Not rich, but influential, certainly, a police commissioner. If you would Google, if I give you more details, you'll immediately track the name also. So I'll not give you more details, but this commissioner is based out of Delhi and she's the only daughter. She befriended somebody on the Facebook 3 years ago. They had online friendship for 6 months and they converted it to offline friendship subsequently. And after 1 year of acquaintance, online plus offline, this person calls her up at 1 a.m. in the evening and in the night and says, look, I want to give you a nice gift. However, when I'm going to Amazon, this thing, I realize that my phone is not getting accepted. Can I share your number so that the packet could reach to you directly? Okay, any girl of an age which she was at, understandably is happy about unexpected gift. And because she's known the person for 1 year, she didn't even twitch her eyelid and she shared her number. In just 10 minutes, she got an OTP and he called her up and said, look, you would have gotten an OTP. They are asking to validate your details. Please share the OTP. When the moment she shared the OTP, her father's account was swiped off 10 lakh rupees, lifetime saving. Okay, we were given this case because of government circle we belong to, and we eventually realized it was a very well-planned strategy of a person who wanted to fund his civil service exams. While preparing for his exams, he realized about this personality who had come to teach him in mock interviews, and this is how the thread was planned for 1 year. Okay. The moral of the story of third case study is online converted to offline is no guarantee of somebody's credentials. Number 2, OTPs are never to be shared even in the wildest nightmares. Even if you have a gunpoint over your head, you should never ever share any OTP with anybody. Okay. We were finally able to track it. We could refund the money, but still this was very scary for us. Now I become a little more honest when I would share my personal cyber hacks. Okay. When I say honest, it is not a matter of embarrassment for me that despite teaching this subject for last 10 years, how could I be hacked is the first question. But let me share with you, there are just two kinds of people on this earth. Okay. One who've been hacked yesterday and one who would be hacked tomorrow. So I belong to the first category. The only point is how alert we are and how do we avert this circumstance, okay, this situation, this calamity. So never ever get frightened. Just face the fear of getting hacked heads on, like any other fear in our life. However, now coming, Vanati, stop smiling, otherwise. It's okay, it's okay. That was just meant for me, not for you to fear, confront the fear head on. Anyway, so these two personal anecdotes. The first one is about my son, who's now, God bless him, a 20-year-old young man. However, 7 years old earlier, when he was barely 13, this young man was actually weighing 100 kg and was a very reticent guy with no friends in school. Okay. And we never realized that he was hankering for affiliation with the power group of the school. He was seen in very simple minded, studious boys, but he was never friends, as in friends where they would laugh or talk over phone for hours together. However, this person, this apparently honest, simple, laid back son of mine, sends a Facebook request to Anushka Sharma, Virat Kohli's wife, saying, you accept? And I don't know how that friendship request was accepted from a 13-year-old boy. And then he sends her a marriage proposal. He says the advantages of marrying me are following. And please marry me. And those offers of her marrying him were not innocent ones. Like probably it claimed that he's a stud she would have ever encountered. He's son of a very influential lady and he would keep her very happy. Okay, on a Facebook wall. And the first call I got from was my own sister-in-law from Scotland. And she didn't call me up. She called me up, my husband. What is this lady up to? Why is she not handling her own son? Look what Udbhav is the name of my child. What Udbhav has posted on his Facebook wall. Such an obscene marriage proposal to Anushka Sharma, none other than her. Okay. And then I got another call from my best friend from London. And he said, Charu, what is happening? What has Udbhav done? Are you not his friend? And that's the time I logged into his account and I was flabbergasted. Long story short, I took him aside. I asked him what happened. He said that was a dare that was given to him by that strong group, which he wanted to befriend. And that is why he yielded, thinking Mama does not see Facebook easily and that nobody else will notice. And that in the morning, he will become part of the most influential gang of the school. Okay, it was very tough for me. I was in an emotional dilemma, but we sorted it out. We closed his account and he's still debarred from Facebook as a punishment because he offended dignity of a woman by offering this. It was more than cyber threat for us. It was a man transcending the boundaries of grace. Okay, so this was another story I wanted to share with you, that making a Facebook account is not tough for any age group. Number two, you never know who's behind that face. Okay, last story. I'm working on my machine. It is 2 a.m. in the night and I was interacting with some international consultants. I work as an ADB consultant also. And suddenly I get an email and I'm usually prompt in replying email from somebody called, I'll share a screenshot of that, from somebody called as Edith. I usually don't open, unknown emails because of obvious reasons. They are not safe, etc. I clicked at Edith mail thinking that one of my conferences would have given me opportunity to interact with somebody by that name. It's a very popular European name. And probably she is expecting me to co-author a paper with her or something like that. In that happy anticipation, I clicked and hold your breath. What did it say? Charu Malhotra, specifically like this. Charu Malhotra, we've seen you doing objectionable activities on a pawn website. Transfer this much Bitcoin. Otherwise, we'll share it with 10 different contacts of yours. And to validate our claim, these are the 10 contacts. And this is your password of email. You should realize when a person is at, that level of age and with that kind of exposure, thankfully, we know when to put a break. Thankfully, I did not, and to stop, otherwise we'll lock your machine. There was a ransomware threat in it. Okay, and click here to pay 0.3 Bitcoin of that. I have a screenshot of that. Thankfully, I was still alert, though it was 3 a.m. in the night. Thankfully, I knew a little bit about cyber security and digital safety. So I went back to the header and I realized it's not from Edith. It is from some IP address, which I immediately Googled and figured out it was from somebody from objectionable, situation, because I pinned it back to a country, a rogue country, and then I figured out the mail was not from that. And thankfully, I've never been to, fortunately or unfortunately, I've never been to those websites. So I had nothing to worry. Imagine same thing happening to any of you. You are at an age where hormones are pumping, where you're excited, where you would have navigated through certain adult sites or gaming sites or, dating sites. And if you get a mail, your first reaction would be click here, just close the deal and let my family or my friends or my, parents don't get to know about it. So this is what is happening around us all the time to each of us. Okay, there are innumerable other anecdotes that are coming to my mind. However, I've just shared the ones that are relevant for you at your age. Now, what was the moral of the story? The moral of the story, as you would have seen, is think. Don't click unknown web links. Okay, don't open emails from unknown names. Even if the names sound known, be very careful of the content. Apart from that, there are certain other things that you should be aware about, like whatever you deem inappropriate should never emanate or should never come from your machine as well. Even that is punishable. What Udbhav did to Anushka Sharma, had she taken him to task, this boy could have been behind bars for cyber trolling and cyberbullying. Okay, it is a criminal offense. If IP address could be traced and the person behind that could be understood to be a citizen of the country, the laws of the country would apply and this person would be taken to task. Okay. More than all this, what I'm sharing with you, the first query was about financial fraud. Now, I would now come to financial fraud case study of online trading, which I shared about my friend's daughter-in-law, Sunita's daughter-in-law. In that case, what mistake she did? She trusted a multiplication factor because of psychological pressure of making money, which any of us could yield into, of any age group from any part of the country, etc. But it's not to be trusted. There's nothing called as free lunch in this world. Okay? Please always look into emails or news items or WhatsApp messages carefully. If there are 3 giveaway signs that you should be careful about. First and foremost, the mail would usually, or the message would usually be generic. Dear Sir oblique ma'am, or hello, how are you? Or dear colleague. That is, there is no personal name happening in the process. Okay. For example, you get a message like, forward this mail to 10 different groups and you would get Adidas shoes free for nominal price of 300 rupees. Now, this kind of generic message should never ever be trusted. Why? Because these messages are usually created and siphoned out, or kind of sent out to lakhs and lakhs of IP addresses and phone numbers that have been picked up from dark web. Now, gullible people would respond to it and end up sharing their identity with the hacker. Till the time you have not responded, hacker is not aware of your complete digital identity. But the moment you reply to such links or you clicked at such links, hacker pins you down as a vulnerable victim or a possible victim. That is why we always say, whenever you get a generic message or a generic forward, avoid it like plague. Number 2 giveaway. That message would usually carry a link which should never ever be pressed. For example, your Aadhaar card is lapse, is your PAN card is deficit of certain details. We want to upgrade your details. Please click at this link to give your complete details. Otherwise, your account will get frozen. Now, the moment you click at this link, you would be taken to a dubious website, which could have a virus or a malware to pick up your details or to infect your machine without your knowledge. So what does this mean? This means that without your knowledge, there could be a rogue software that could plant itself in your machine, that could capture your audio recordings, your webcam recordings, your copy your files, or in your smart devices, copy your contacts, etc., and share your digital identity with 10 lakh or 10,000 people across the world. These 10 lakh or 10,000 people, hypothetically numbered, exist in what is called as the dark part of the web, dark web. Okay, and their only job is to pick up these digital identities, create your digital profile, and push you for a financial fraud or bully you or eventually impersonate you and bully others through your identity. So the second giveaway of a mail to be careful about is a mail with a link. Okay, a message with a link. Please never ever do. For example, if you're getting a message from ICICI Bank that your details are expiring or we are updating a database, please click here. It's better to go to that bank's website directly and then see if details have been asked. Or still better, you could call up that bank number and you could ask them whether they require any details or not. Okay. Majority of the cases, dear students, no bank would ever ask you to provide your links like that, provide your details on a link. Okay, so be very careful about it. Third thing which I want you to be careful about, which is very easy to figure out and which is now kind of fizzling out, it's no longer valid, but it's still valid in certain cases, are the obvious grammatical and spelling mistakes. Okay. Usually spurious emails and spurious websites or, such kind of forwards would give themselves away by making a language mistake. They are very good in technology, but thankfully, as of now, majority of them are not very flawless with their language. So you would immediately make out that this is not from the person it was meant to be from. Okay. An example of that kind of mail is, hi, I'm trapped in Nigeria. My mother is not well, dying, and spelling of dying could be wrong. And I don't know how to take care of her health. Please send me money jaldi. I have had this thing. Okay. Please send me money jaldi. Now, jaldi in Hindi means as soon as possible. So the criminal made this mistake of creating a mail which gave itself away by this one, word, vernacular word. It could be a grammar mistake, it could be a spelling mistake, it could be a combination of vernacular language and English. So that is our third giveaway. So I repeat myself, dear students, the first giveaway of a spurious email or a message is a generic salutation. Sir oblique ma'am, hi, how are you, dear colleague. Anybody who knows you would always recognize you by your first name or last name, or at least your title. Hi, Dr. Ma'am, how are you? Is usually how I get my emails. Okay, if I get a mail, dear Sir oblique ma'am, how are you? Well, first thing, I should avoid it. Second giveaway is these kind of messages or mails or even SMSs. We are getting so many SMSs which say, you want to multiply money? Click here and give us your details and you'll get a job at 10,000 rupees per month. This has become a routine. Click here is the giveaway. Okay. Third giveaway, as I shared with you, is some kind of inadvertent mistake. Okay. These mistakes could be irrespective of the profile picture you see in the forward message. It could be from my profile picture, or irrespective of my email identity. You might see Charu Malhotra at Gmail, but you might see, hi, how are you? Please click here. Now, my profile picture or my email login could be any time hacked into by malicious elements or malicious actors. The fact that financial frauds thrive on impersonation and digital identity is a fact that should make you cautious about how much you say in the social world about yourself. Okay, identity in physical life is how I look, what kind of specs I wear, how do I do my hair, what am I called by, where do I stay, where do I work. However, digital identity is as simple as a login. Okay, Charu Malhotra is my digital identity, full stop. My Twitter handle is Charu Malhotra at 9, full stop. Anybody knows that? Couple it up with some other information about me, like my marriage anniversary date or my pet's name or my mother's name. A robot, which we call as bot, could immediately do permutation combination for the malicious actor to figure out my password. That is why in each and every session, I keep telling my students, please make the most complicated and yet the easiest password. Okay, most complicated means a password that is devoid of giveaways about your identity, like don't give your friend's name, don't give your date of birth, don't give your address. Okay, and simplest so that you could recall it yourself. Okay, once I remember, I made a password on the basis of the rules that are given. Have a small, have a capital, have a letter, have special characters, minimum 8 characters. And I made something which I could never break myself, and hence my Excel sheet was locked forever. So my experience says that make passwords that are very complicated for the bot. Bot means a program that is being employed by the malicious actor to decrypt your passwords, but yet a simple one that you could understand. Like I could make a password. I love Dr. Vanati as the best great person. Now I'll never forget this because this is a fact of my life, and I will just pick up I, Vanati V, great GR8, etc. Okay, so it is complicated. You know, anybody who knows me knows I have 10 different great people in my life, and whether it is Dr. Vanati, the one which is in my password, is very tough to fathom. So make something which you would recall fast, but is tough to be connected to your physical reality. Your daughter's name, your mother's name, your pet's name, your date of birth, your anniversary is all there everywhere in the digital world. Okay, every time you swipe a card, every time you Google, every time you go on a Swiggy or Ola, every time you watch a movie on Netflix, your footprints are there. any crawler could go and pick it up and profile what kind of movies you watch, where do you stay, what do you eat, how many. Okay, so be very careful about it. I just took a pause deliberately. I wanted to. Okay, so that is how you should design passwords. Another caution, dear friends. COVID has, done its trauma. Almost all of us are on work from home. All of us are Zooming our friends. All of us are using plastic cards for transactions. Hence, our digital footprints are numerous, 10,000 times more than they were pre-COVID times. As a result, we are 10,000 times more vulnerable than we were in pre-COVID times. And that is why, apart from physical distancing, you should maintain digital distancing. Now is the time for you to go anonymous in certain ways. Now is the time for you to be wary of posting your vacation pictures. Now is the time for you to be careful of what is your status and what is your profile picture. Because of 10,000 times multiplication factor of digital footprints in COVID and post-COVID times, hackers have become much more proactive than ever before. And as a result, whatever was safe before March 2020 has totally become unsafe now. Please do not share your personal details on social media platform, at least not on those where the footfall of strangers is higher than footfall of friends. Okay? Instagram, Facebook. I agree, LinkedIn is still to some extent an exclusive social media portal. However, the fact it is exclusive is not realized just by me or you, but by hackers also. So please understand. And dear friends, hackers are 90 times more intelligent than intelligence of you 90 people put together. Hackers are making money out of it. It is their bread. It is their reason of existence. I entered into a conversation with a hacker who was trying to break into my account through a phone call. And then I made him emotional and I asked him, why do you do this? And you know what was the answer? Ma'am, if I ask you, why do you teach? What would you say? If I ask you, stop teaching, what would you say? And I had to disconnect the call. Okay, they are totally dedicated warriors of hacking. They would not fall to your emotional plea. They will not fall to the fact that you saved this money through, perspiration and hard work. They will not care what is your age. They will not care who are you. They are into it. Numbers matter to them, how much they made, how many targets, etc., etc. This brings me to another concept, which the second query was about. How do hackers work? What are the techniques? Okay. Hackers work on number one, your mind. The last endpoint is your mind. It's not your digital device. Your device could be secured by firewalls, passwords, etc. But if your mind yields and crumbles, your details are lost. Okay, I'll give you an example. If a mother gets a call, God forbid, no mother should get that call. If a mother gets a call, your son was found on the roadside, bleeding profusely. I admitted him to hospital. I paid the admission charge. However, now they are asking for 10,000 deposit. Ma'am, I'm a poor man, but your son should be saved. You will take time to come to hospital. Please share your account details and transfer the money ASAP. Now, this is playing on the mind. A mother, even if I'm getting my goosebumps because I'm a mother also. Okay, this I just created it on the feet, but this is how they work. They work on your mind. All your caution is thrown out of the wind. Your fear factor, your aggression, your excitement, your happiness, your agitation comes to the highest pinnacle, and then you end up revealing what you would have never done in sanity. All of us know, don't give your CVV, don't give your OTP. However, if I'm pushed against the wall, if I'm put under pressure cooker in any kind of trauma or excitement, Charu ma'am, you've done a great job of teaching 3 lakh students in 30 years. We are giving you a free trip to Mauritius with your family. Just share their details with us. I'm an honest government officer. Going to Mauritius with my family for 10 days is a dream I've never been able to fulfill. I would take one person in one trip, second person in second trip. So all of us together, wow, free of cost, 10 days in Mauritius. Well, what do you need? Okay, this is social engineering. First case and second case where I got agitated to a level where my caution was lost. I ended up revealing my family details because I wanted to go for a free trip, or I ended up giving my CVV or my card details to somebody because somebody very special to me was expected to be saved. This technique is called social engineering technique, and Jamtara kind of frauds, please Google Jamtara, are all working on social engineering, working on mind, asking you details to commit financial fraud. Okay. Also, dear friends, you are very smart. You should know nothing exists in isolation now. If my identity is known once, it would not just be breached once, it would be misused multiple times. So at one point, my card was swiped off of a debit amount because I ended up revealing. Second time, my name, if it is already there in dark web, and my password could be used to send email to all my contacts saying I've been hacked or I'm in Nigeria. Third time, you might get a call from my identity saying there is a bonus being announced. Please give us your account number. And as an IT person, I'm giving bonus to everybody who's studied from me. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you, the multiple effect of identity loss leads to all other kinds of cybercrime also. Now, the next obvious question from any of you could be, ma'am, I'm a simple student like Kirti or Geeta or Jiva. Ma'am, why would anybody want my identity? Why would they, because I'm not as old as you are. I'm in 30-year-old in work life. Many people know you. So people might like to breach into your identity. But why a student like me would be important for a hacker? The fact that you are simple, the fact that you have a clean civil record, hopefully, the fact that you are connected to 90 people in a class at one point are enough reasons for a criminal to steal your identity. They could steal your identity to Zoom bomb this class. They could steal your identity to cyberbully another friend of yours whom they had a grouse against, but they didn't want to kind of come clean about it, etc., etc. Don't wait for a reason to believe that you won't be hacked. Okay? Just remember what I told you at the outset in a very candid way. One category hacked yesterday, another category would be hacked tomorrow. So there is no in between. You can't sit on the fence and say, look, I attended 1 year WOW class, 1 hour of WOW class. I could never be hacked. In fact, you could be more hacked because now you are connected to me and I'm already in the glare of cyber criminals. Okay. So what do we do? What do we do is, number one, digital distancing. Number two, read and react after taking a deep breath. Become more spiritual in digital world also. Number three, please believe there are no freebies, no free lunch ever in digital world. If they're asking you to pass it on to 10 different groups and give you Adidas shoes, trust me, they would take your identity and misuse it several times more than the cost of an Adidas shoe. Okay. Last but not the least, please never use free Wi-Fi for financial transactions. We have figured out that is the most vulnerable point where majority of our victims have lost their money. You land up at airport, you see free Wi-Fi, you first call up your family or girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever. And second thing you do is transfer some money, buy something. Because it's free Wi-Fi, you don't want to use international calling rates. Don't do that. I'm not saying airport Wi-Fi's are harmful. I'm not saying cafe airports are harmful. What I'm trying to tell you is the criminal could have created a spurious Wi-Fi with similar sounding name and kept it open to lure you. And without even realizing, you would have entered it thinking, wow, it's giving me such a wonderful connectivity, which a usual Indian airport would never ever give you. Okay. So it would sound like Indian airport free Wi-Fi, whereas Indian airport Wi-Fi would be IAA, AAA or whatever. So the moment you see the first one, you click and you are in hurry to talk to people. Look, I've landed, I'm sharing my selfie. And then second thought, okay, I had to transfer this money and the free Wi-Fi is there. Let me do that. Don't. Okay. This is one of the most common things. Another thing you should be very careful about, it's come to my notice recently, is customer care numbers being Googled. Okay. I'll give you an example, which has, again, a case that has come to us. Somebody was trying to sell a laptop on OLX. There are two cases that have parallelly come to my mind. That's the joy of not using a PPT. You become very extempore. So, somebody had sold a laptop in the on the OLX platform. The person who was buying it said, sir, we want to transfer the money. We want to check whether it is working or not. Sending you a QR code. Please scan it and validate. Money lost. Please understand, whenever you have to get money, you don't scan QR codes. Okay. Second example. A particular service was available. And now I'll go personal again without any qualms. I had to send birthday cake to my friend who was staying in a very remote area at 12 a.m. in the night. I checked up Swiggy. The cost was humongous. I wanted to make it a huge package, Vanti, and I'm actually with that friend today. It's her birthday today, and we are in but I'm telling you 3 years ago. So this special, adorable friend of mine, I wanted to send her a wine bottle, a cake, and flowers. And the combo in ferns and petals was like, it cost a bomb. So what I did, I went to Google and I said, okay, wine in those areas, okay, cake in that area. She stays in a particular area, which is not well connected in Delhi. So I got a number and I called them up and they said, yes, we'll do the 3 things together at a price which was unbelievable. And they engaged me in a call, which was more than 7 to 8 minutes. They asked me to share my credit card number and CVV. Again, social engineering at its play. And because it was 5 minutes to 12 a.m. and I was in hurry to deliver her, I shared thinking I'm not giving them OTP. I'm just giving them my card number and CVV. I will eventually, ensure it's not done. And they said, well, we've received, there's a link. Please look at the options of cake. What do you want to write? Click here. I clicked, nothing came. The screen went blank. I called, I said, it's not working. Oh, it's not working. We'll send you another link. Now I got careful. By that time, the damage was done. My account was swiped off. You know what had happened? Listen to this carefully, what happened. The link was taking me to a website which was loaded with TeamViewer. TeamViewer is a software, very ancient technique of hacking. It took me to TeamViewer. TeamViewer is, if I click at TeamViewer, it helps you to share files. It was earlier created as a software where two programmers in two different websites could share their files. In this case, it became a tool in the hand of criminals. I clicked at TeamViewer, my screen got doubled up there. The OTP had come because I was engaged in the call. I didn't realize the ping happened and OTP was visible on the screens there, and they swiped the money off. Okay, this is a true anecdote. I had to kind of solve this case. I closed everything. I went after them. I figured out they had a state-of-art center in Noida, which was having, all those smart walls and devices, which even, I'm sorry to say, even a cyber police won't have. And there were 10 people sitting there doing this job in such a dedicated manner that it was scary. They were making up these calls, and these numbers were available through customer care number or such numbers which pop up right like that. The moment you Google for delivery, free delivery of roses, from repair of, car, all these kind of things, which an ordinary person is all the time thinking. Customer care number of all the banks are there under spurious numbers. So what do? You just pick up the flap of your card and look at the credit card customer care number, call up there. You go to their website, contact them through email, be patient, or check the number there, but don't Google these numbers and dial. Okay, they might have stopped using TeamViewers as a technique. They would have definitely used something better. For the last victim, that would have happened. In my case, TeamViewer is the oldest technique. Now the kind of cases that are happening are mind-boggling. They install malware, they capture, there is a malware which is there, which could be loaded on the machine that can record what you are saying and what you are doing. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. And there are software, and whatever is being recorded is being streamed out to servers where there are algorithms that identify what pictures or talks could be blackmailed, from where they are originating. Others are all deleted. Okay. So if a recording happens which is of an objectionable nature, those victims are blackmailed through physical blackmail, ransomware attacks, etc., etc. Because these people, to protect their sanity and social dignity, would never ever want these kind of clips or audio recordings to come in public domain. So what do? When the class is over, shut your camera. Okay, put a slip there, close the shutter. Disconnect from internet when not in use. Do not, let your smart TV be on and connected all the time. Switch it off when not in use. If smart TV can hear, if a smart TV can show, it can also see. If a smartphone can talk to you, it can also hear you. Try it anytime. I'm taking this class. If internet is on here and I say Paris 3 times in my discussion, I'll soon get an alert of interesting places to visit in Paris. Okay, your smart devices are listening you, watching you, recording you, and streaming out all this to servers because they're connected on internet. If they are not connected on internet, they are buffering it in their memory, and the moment they see internet connectivity, they are streaming it out. So it is better to go back to those pigeon days. It's better to switch off your devices. It's better to maintain distance. It's better to be wary of strangers. It's better to go incognito while browsing. If you still want to do all those interesting activities that Vanati and I never did when we were growing up, at least use DuckDuckGo. That is one search engine which will keep you in incognito all the time. It will not steal your details. So do whatever you want to do, but don't use Google for sure. Though my daughter works for Google, but I would still advise you to use DuckDuckGo. Okay, these are small cautions. I've been very candid and honest to you. I think this was my first class without presentation, but the whole idea was to make it simple and relevant. I'm muting myself. Any of you have the liberty of asking me any question related to digital safety.
Manjula ma'am, are you there? Can
Yeah.
we take questions from the students?
Yeah, very much. Thank you, Charu ma'am. I think that was an excellent talk. And I may request now the students to ask some questions which are relevant to the topic of the day. On digital safety, digital security, any of the questions which pop up in your mind, please feel free to interact with ma'am and ask those questions, please.
Ma'am, can you explain more about SIM swapping frauds, ma'am? Because due to recent times, SIM swapping occur more often, especially the bank transaction related things. We cannot even get OTP if the SIM is swapped, and we are not aware of that, ma'am.
Excellent question, Deepak. But Manjula ji, if we could put all the questions together and then I'll answer them, because I don't want to get engaged in one participant and others get neglected. So please ask all the questions first and we could answer them one by one.
You can even use the chat box to put in your queries. That will be even better. If you have any questions, you can please put it in the chat box, or you can even unmute yourself and ask them straight away. I think you've heard ma'am say.
Very good afternoon, ma'am. This is Ashwin. I would like to know about the trustworthiness of the utility programs and freewares which are used for compressing PDFs and reducing the size of image files in the internet. Even though we have those official Photoshops or Adobe Illustrators, we still go for them for our convenience. I would like to know about the trustworthiness of them.
Hi, ma'am. This is Vennimal. So, at the last, you were telling about the incognito mode of browsing. So, even at the incognito mode, I believe the company who is having that browser will be able to access our information. And even through incognito mode, we are connected to internet. So, anyway, we are vulnerable outside, I think. So, can you correct me if I'm wrong?
Yes.
I see one more question in the chat box. If I can read it.
Wishing. I read that. Manjula ji, I read that. Manjula ji, should I bring in Scout for a pen and paper and write all those questions at one place? Or should I first take this bunch and then move on? I have all the time in the day till Vanati says it's off. So don't worry.
I think there are a couple of questions right now.
So, but are you writing all those questions or should I write it myself?
I have written it down.
Great. All the questions. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go ahead.
I think the first question was on this SIM swapping by Deepak.
Great. So thank you, Deepak. That was a great question and very relevant. And I'm glad you brought it up because I couldn't cover it. Dear friends, first I will share with you what should you do. Okay. And what is SIM swapping? Deepak, first, I would want you to be interactive. Please explain them what is SIM swapping, and then I'll take it forward from there. I'll get a break.
SIM swapping means we can change the SIM network, ma'am. For example, from Jio to Airtel, something. SIM swapping, we get a OTP for that. I think it's valid for 15 days to change the network. And if you don't see that thing, some other person can hack that OTP and take that and change the SIM without even our knowledge, and we will be getting no network signal. We will be thinking of there's some network issue, that kind of thing, but ultimately the person would have hacked our SIM, and he would be getting the OTP from our bank, and we don't even realize that. Only after checking our bank account, we can find that thing.
Excellent, Deepak. I couldn't have explained it so well like the way you do. I would advise you to pick up teaching as a profession. So dear friends, as Deepak rightly said, swim swapping. The biggest giveaway, Deepak, as you would have also realized yourself, for swim swapping is, and I think you said it, that for some time your phone goes blank. Okay, you're not getting messages, you are totally lost, and you think the phone is not working. So this usually happens when the biggest reason of swim swap I figured out is again social engineering, where people have been manipulated to share their passwords or their personal data, and somehow they have access to your SIM, and they disable the messages, and they then they could undertake, as I said, one thing leads to another, they could do financial fraud, etc. So how do you avoid SIM swapping is just have multi-factor authentication as the holy grail of your existence. That means that whenever you do any kind of creation of an account or access to any account, you should always have a firewall, a control, a phone number, and some other ways. So earlier we used to advocate two-factor authentication, but because of SIM swap frauds, we've insisted on having multi-factor authentication. Okay, so, and this leads us to another question which came up: phishing mails. Swim swapping, in my experience, I figured out maximum reason is either social engineering or phishing. Social engineering is when somebody has been coerced to reveal the details, as I said. Phishing, on the other hand, is what is phishing in normal life? Phishing in normal life is you have a bait and a rod. You put the bait on the rod, you sit next to the river, and a gullible fish will pick up that bait and will become victim. Similarly, phishing emails, phishing in this case is PHI, as the person who asked the question wrote. Now, in phishing emails, again, the gullibility factor of the most vulnerable person would be exploited. That person would end up giving details, and then swim swap or any other fraud could have happened. So the whole idea is to avoid giving personal data to the scammers, particularly.
Did we lose ma'am?
Yeah,
Vanity?
it looks like it. There must have been a power cut or something. Let me just check with her.
Yeah.
That was sad. There's been a power shutdown, I'm told, but she's connecting on her mobile device. So it should take just a minute or two and she'll be logged in again.
Yeah, that's great.
Thanks, boys and girls, for being very proactive and interactive at the same time. Thank you. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, I know.
I'm told they're all first years and it's just the first or second day in college, right?
They are just hardly here for a week, and I've just had the opportunity of talking to them only once. But no, they most of them are all engineers, you see. So they have their own experiences, and having done an UG, I think they have that maturity to understand. And I am sure each one of us have our own experiences of, in whatever way we have been affected. At least we have some experience. So I think that speaks. And especially when you are in an MBA program, I think it is very natural that they have to have this ability to interact. Ma'am,
Dr. Vanity, can I take
Yes,
over?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Yes, please carry on.
Yeah, sorry, Manjula ji, I interrupted, but I wanted to just finish the topic.
I was just filling up, ma'am, for your absence.
I know. I love these techniques and I respect you for that. Thank you. Okay, so Deepak, we were talking about SIM swapping. So as I was sharing with the rest of the group as well, that SIM swapping happens because of social engineering, because of the fact that phishing mails could have been clicked. I mean, some link would have been clicked by the vulnerable person, or you left your phone overnight for repair, and the person who was supposed to repair your phone picked up some details. So it actually exploits the mobile service provider's feature to port a telephone number to another device, like Deepak shared with us. So the whole idea is, how do we stay safe? Please always keep all the information on the phone also safe by adding strong passwords. Please ensure you don't just use two-factor authentication, you use multi-factor authentication. And also recognize the sign as soon as SIM swapping happens, means your card would lose all the services. You won't be receiving calls or text or access the internet. This is the first giveaway of SIM swap. Okay, so immediately block your SIM at that point, because somebody else could have cloned it and somebody could be using it for bank transaction or for other illicit activity related to your phone call, like making calls, cyberbullying, etc. So I'm so glad, Deepak, you brought it up, and this is very interesting aspect, and I thank you for bringing it up.
The
Thank you.
second question, if I can ask, ma'am, on behalf of the student who asked it, he is asking about the PPT, the PDF converters, or where you are going using it for the shortening versions, or all those things which we are going and using online. How does it compromise?
Listen, what is very important for us to understand is there are no free lunches. Okay, even if WinZip, which is the most popular, or Adobe readers, all this we use often because of their convenience. For that matter, even Cam Scanner, Truecaller, not just PDF readers. All these apps are having a business model which is beyond us to fathom. The business model is not just to give us the service free of cost, but the business model is to capture our details and misuse it later, or sell it off further. Okay. So for example, not the PDF converter, but Truecaller, there has been a case study that Truecaller picks up all the details and sells it in dark web for a cost which is unbelievable, because this is the most popular app which is found in majority of the phones. Okay. Similarly, I Love PDF was another website which was blamed to have picked up the personal details. Though they make a claim, but don't trust those claims. So what is the way out? Like I said, COVID and post-COVID, the only way out is spend money. Earlier, we used to spend money on buying books. Now we have to spend money to buy authorized apps, or to use only from recognized sources or authorized sources. There is no escape, please. We are all digital entities now, and with metaverse coming up, we'll have digital avatars also. So it's better we invest in our securing our identity and securing our data.
The third question, I think, came from Venimal, and he was asking that when we are using any internet browser which says it is incognito, but still it is though, because it is connected on the internet, does it not ensure that we are still on compromising and sharing our data with the internet provider?
That's a great question. Yes and no, both. In incognito mode, your browsing history, etc., is still created. However, it is immediately deleted in a jiffy through an algorithm, which is hash algorithm. However, there are ways to retrieve that, and hence you are equally unsafe if somebody has already put a malware into your machine to identify or decode your incognito mode.
Naveen, I think you had a question in the chat box. You can ask the question yourself. So after Naveen, the next person can ask.
Yeah, please.
Naveen, are you there?
I can't see the chat box, so you have to read it out now.
Yeah. I'm asking the student himself to read it. Or ask the question. Naveen?
Yeah.
Ma'am, then can the phishing SMS and mails can collect our data?
Can the phishing emails do what?
Yeah, messages, blank messages. When we click the, we don't know who sent the message.
Right.
Sometimes we click on the messages.
Mm-hmm.
So can they the hackers collect our data?
All the time. The purpose of a phishing email is to collect data. All the time. All the time. There are phishing emails which have been known to even do the screenshots, which is so scary.
If I delete immediately, even though they can collect it, ma'am.
If you delete it, no, then it can't. If you delete it, no. If you click at the link, yes. Okay. If you receive a phishing email or if you receive a phishing message, you've just read it, then nothing will happen, rest assured. It's only when you tap to the link which has been said.
And I think Naveen is asking about phishing attack on blank messages where there is no link and no data transmitted through that. He is asking whether opening a blank message itself can lead us to a phishing attack. If I'm not wrong, is that right, Naveen?
Yes, madam.
Yeah.
Naveen, I would not comment on that. I've never encountered a case like that. Theoretically, it's not possible, but practically, if it is happening, I'm nobody to say. Okay, I'll have to check it up before I say yes or no to that, and give me just half an hour. I would just check it up and get back to you on that.
Right.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have Priyanka.
Next question is from Priyanka. Yeah, Vanati, go ahead.
Should I ask, ma'am?
Yeah, please, Priyanka, go ahead.
Okay. Ma'am, my question is that we have antivirus software for laptops. Similarly, now there is antivirus software for phones also. So having them, does that ensure that the malware won't get installed? Even if we by mistake click some link or something?
Priyanka, if you put lock to your house, are you sure your house won't be broken in?
No.
But it's as simple as that. And if you keep a security guard, are you sure nobody will ever steal?
No, it's not like that.
So what do? You put a security guard, you get a Labrador, you put a lock, and you tell your neighbors to be careful. Even then it could happen. And majority of the time in the same lingo, most of the antivirus software themselves, steal your data. Like most of the security guards are in hand and glove with the local criminals. So what do? You just ensure that your precious data is anonymized, it's backed up, and you go back to pen and paper days. I'm sorry, but this is seriously what I personally believe after so many years and so many cases. I'm actually getting very infuriated with vulnerability of digital existence.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's, to be pragmatic, Priyanka, it's better to have more than one antivirus on your phone. Okay. Usually one antivirus is capable of nabbing the flaws of the other antivirus. And still be careful yourself. Okay. Just remember the house theft instance I picked up and keep that in mind all the time. So put your stuff in the locker, most expensive one. Tell your neighbors to be alert. So have more than one safeguard mechanism and be safe yourself.
No, thank you.
Yeah, possibility of theft doesn't stop us from going for a vacation, no? But we become more careful. So we do stay on in the digital world, but we become more cautious.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Until the next person can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah, please.
Bennett Niffin. Bennett Niffin has asked a question, ma'am, regarding accepting access permissions for mobile apps. I think that's something that all of us
Yeah,
have no
very,
choice.
yeah. I think Dr. Vanati, everybody knows the answer themselves. They're only asking me to permit them to do that. The answer is a big no. Okay. If an app is meant to, let's say, click photographs, it should not have access to your contacts. If it is meant to dial contacts, it should not have access to your web camera, etc., etc. So be very, very careful of what is this app for and what is it meant to do, and only give that much permission. Like Uber doesn't ask you for location GPS to be switched on, but Ola asks you. So if you want to do a comparative of both the services, you have to permit Ola to have GPS access, but not your contact history, etc.
I have a question popping up right at this moment based on this. I would like you to address my ignorance. I need a particular app for a particular purpose right now. I install it, download it from Play Store, install it, make use of it, and uninstall it. Am I safe from being attacked by anything that that particular app can do to me from the moment that I have uninstalled it, or am I still vulnerable?
Dear friends, it's as good as and as beautiful as personal life. I keep a maid from an unauthorized source. I ask her to leave me after 2 days of temporary service. So am I safe after she's left me? No. She had access to my whereabouts. She knows my routine. So she's already done the damage. Maybe she's planted a Trojan somewhere in my house that will trigger once I've asked her to leave. So it's as bad as that.
So we are never safe in this digital world.
No, we are never, ma'am. We are never ever safe in the digital world, because the digital footprints, the right to erasure, the right to be forgotten, the mechanism of deleting is very, very tough. It's still not very clear.
We have Ramesh who has asked a question: does using the proxy sites and VPN guarantee our internet anonymity? Can you take
To a
that?
large extent, yes. To a large extent, VPN is very safe, virtual private networks. And I'm glad this question came up. VPN should become a norm in your domestic routers. VPN should become norm on your smartphones, because that do protect you, but they also protect the criminals. VPN is the reason we are not able to nab majority of the criminals, because they use VPN to protect themselves.
And Vijay has come up with a very common question that phone brands like MI, OnePlus, they themselves are stealing our data while we are using their brand devices, whether this happens really or not.
Yes, that's their business model. Anything that is cheap, Dr. Vanati, anything that is offering a free lunch, anything that is tantalizing you is actually stealing your data.
So does it mean that MI and OnePlus are priced lower and therefore they're doing this while Apple and other expensive phones do not do that, ma'am?
You think I don't have enough enemies to answer this? Please don't do this to me. I'm not going to take names and lambast them in a public forum.
Leave it at that. We'll believe that all phone companies do take data from us, whether we like it or not. And we have Krishna Kumar who has asked, what are all the processes involved in retrieval of lost money?
What is the process involved? Great. That's a great question. I really respect this person. Can I have the name of the person again?
Krishna Kumar.
Krishna Kumar, I want the entire group to clap for you in their mind if they won't do it physically. Don't disrupt the class, but please hail him as a great, listener. That's one part which got skipped because of the questions and light being off. Dear friends, whenever you are hacked, first and foremost, collect evidence. As much evidence as possible. Take screenshots of the messages that are terrifying you. Take IP address of the number where you think, some kind of suspicious activity happened. Take down the phone number. Take the screenshot. Save. Take a dump. Okay. Save as much evidence as possible. And while doing that, block it, because we don't want the damage to be multiplying itself. So if there is some online trading site that has picked up your money, block them, but save all the messages, 40s and 50s or 70s inconsequential of that. Okay. If a particular email asks you for Bitcoin transfer, take down the IP header of that mail. Okay. Please go to the email address. Beyond email address, if you go to the 3 dots, you will see header. So pick up the header, save it. Okay, I'll put it in some presentation and share with Vanati again, because this is one point which has just come to me out of my memory, but it's not there in the presentation. So collect as many evidences as possible of the crime and the person who has committed the crime. The person in this case could be an email address or a phone number or anybody you know. Person you probably are suspicious of, you had a recent fight, you should please write it down. Before evidence, as I said somewhere when Vanati and I were having a personal, warm moment of exchange, face the fear with eyes open and mind alert. Okay, heads on. Even if it's a tiger rushing towards you, stand, take a deep breath and relax. Jo damage hona hai, that damage could be minimized if you are more careful and you brave. Okay. Whatever had to happen has happened, and there are ways to undo it also, at least minimize the loss or optimize the loss. So take a deep breath, save all the evidences, list down people you had recent fight with or you suspect. Now, once this homework or groundwork is done, that takes almost 30 minutes to 45 minutes in usual cases, then dial 100 number. Okay? Dial 100 and lodge the complaint. Ramble out your complaint, keeping an eye on the evidences in front of you. Majority of the cases, bless these souls, they are proactive, they are empathetic now. Okay? The police officers, when you dial 100, are now aware of all these things and they respond to you very properly. They give you a key number, an acknowledgement number of the complaint. You will also get an SMS to that. Save that. Now you are adding to your evidences by building up a trail of places where you've lodged the complaint. So number 100 number, dial, and whatever number, complaint ID number you get, save it. You through an SMS or verbally they tell you. Number 2, go to cybercrime.gov.in. Okay, cybercrime.gov.in. So this is a centralized portal by Government of India, which will ask you to first register yourself. Please register yourself. It doesn't take more than half a minute. Okay. So you register yourself there, create an account for yourself and upload the evidences along with the complaint ID of 100 number. Now you would be landing up in the hands of cybercrime cell of the local area, because cybercrime.gov.in is a centralized portal, but it directs your complaint to the local area where you belong or where the incident occurred. Okay. Number 3, if it is a financial fraud like the query was, immediately call a bank and update them of what has happened. Block your credit card numbers and debit cards, whatever was the instance. If it was a Google Pay or Paytm transfer, call them up also and update them and start saving all the acknowledgement numbers. Okay. Now, if the website of the bank was vulnerable, it had some crime, history, and you were not at fault, within 3 days, you should get 100% refund. But if you were at fault, like in case of online trading, the daughter-in-law of my friend had shared the details. In that case, they usually credit it back depending on how police officers and bank and cyber cell are working. It all varies from instance to instance. Okay. In certain cases, I've seen, with due regards, bank authorities are in hand and glove with the criminals and they don't support you. They don't credit back the account. But in certain cases, bless those souls, they immediately credit back the amount. However, they freeze the account for 40 days to be on the safe side till cybercrime cell has not taken an action. So the money is reflected back in your account, but you can withdraw that money after 10 days or 40 days, depending on the nature of the complaint. If you are still not satisfied with the action taken by the bank or by the service provider, you have a Lokyukta and Ombudsman to report this. You have RBI Ombudsman. It's there in my presentation also. If it is not there, I'll share the other version of presentation. They would, then you could lodge an appeal with them after 10 days. That, look, I'm not happy with what my bank did to reimburse my amount or to attend to my complaint. And please, then it becomes a complaint about your bank also. Okay. So that's what you do. Evidence, 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 as much as possible.
Thank you so very much, ma'am, for taking us through what exactly we need to be doing at this hour in case of an attack. And I think we really need to thank Krishna Kumar also for having asked this question so that all of us get enlightened on that. We have a couple more questions I think ma'am has already addressed them during the speech. How far is it safe to connect with the public Wi-Fi, railways, and other shop free Wi-Fis? And ma'am did mention that all these are definitely putting us at risk, at large risk. So with that, thank you so much, Charu ma'am, for taking this much of time and addressing our students, especially this set of interactive students. Thank you. I would like Mrs. Manjula to please present a thanks to Charu ma'am right now.
Manjula ji, with your permission, and Dr. Vanati, with your permission, this is for the first time I found such an interesting group of students who were so active, who were wonderful. I saw certain pop-ups of questions that have not been answered. Could Manjula ji do me a favor of sending these questions? I'll answer them on email or WhatsApp so that each and every question is addressed. And feel free to share my email with these students. We learn when we teach. So I would love to keep learning through these wonderful set of students.
Sure, ma'am. I think that will be our pleasure to do so. And thank you so much for that. I've just taken a screenshot of the questions that popped up so that I can send it across to you.
Please do that.
It's really wonderful.
Yeah.
So
thank you,
Dr. Vanati, for bestowing such a pleasant task of proposing the vote of thanks for this wonderful session. All that I can think and say is, wow, how well this program went. And I think it was so well coined, the program itself, weekly online program, but it also resonates the feeling that we had after attending and after going through this digital safety program with Dr. Charu. I think Dr. Charu's talk was straight from the heart. It was very practical and pragmatic, and that is why it could connect with all of us. And perhaps the questions that came and the interaction that you had is a testimony for how well the students were able to listen to you, follow what you were saying, and especially the personal examples that you gave. Each one of us could relate to one or the other instance when we had similar experiences ourselves. And I think that is the testimony and the credits to the speaker herself. So Dr. Charu, thank you so much for coming in and giving such a nice talk. Now, they say that technology trust is a good thing, but its control is a better one. Awareness of powerful efforts to combat and prevent these crimes are the first step in combating and bringing the control. And that is perhaps the effort of programs like this. And as Dr. Charu was rightly saying, reporting is another. So when one goes through these kind of experiences, how much it gets reported is also a very, very important thing, because that is where the learning comes from. That is when people who are engaged in cybersecurity and digital safety can take a step. But at the same time, as the world is changing, Dr. Charu was rightly saying that there is no place to hide. We are all equally vulnerable, and no matter how much we try to take steps, it is like the Sisyphus effect. I don't know how many of you have heard this term called as Sisyphean task. I was talking to a person who was working in the digital security in the US, making products for cybersecurity, and she was saying that every time they think that they have solved a problem. So the Sisyphus is a Greek mythology character who is entrusted with this responsibility of taking a boulder up to a hill. When he thinks that he has finished and accomplished his task, the boulder moves down, traveling down the hill. So it is starting all over again. I think the people who are working in digital security and cyber security had the same kind of feeling, that when they finish one task and they feel that they have solved one, there is another cropping up. Always the people
Wow.
on the other end are
Manjula,
always one step
wow.
ahead.
Let me say a wow. I can't resist saying a wow. To the point you said, please share it with me on WhatsApp, please.
Oh, definitely. Why not? It's a pleasure.
Yeah, please, thank you.
Yeah. So in the world of data breaches, hacking, phishing, cloud mobility, IoT, I think this is going to stay, and the awareness is the most important thing. A program like this gives a conscious mind, puts it into that thought process of how to deal with these things at any point of time, and also making the people who are in and around us to realize and help them to stay away from this or tackle these situations that one is likely to incur in some form or the other. So my thanks are due to the DRO, Dr. B. Vijayalakshmi, for bringing in such a nice resource person, and for putting the process and making the state RUSA office so vibrant with programs week after week. I know a lot of credit should go to Dr. Vanati and her team. Dr. Vanati, thank you so much for giving this opportunity, for letting our students come in and be part of this talk today. My thanks are due to Dr. Stephen, the RUSA coordinator from the University of Madras, Dr. Khaja Sharif, the head of the Department of Management Studies, for so graciously accepting when I told that we would like to take our students for this program, and Dr. Satyanarayana, my fellow colleague and associate professor at the Department of Management Studies, and Dr. S. Usha, faculty from the Department of Management Studies, for letting the students be part of this event. I think Dr. Stephen sir is also here. So, but last and not the least, all those students who were so attentive and who took active participation in the program today. Once again, I thank one and all for this wonderful opportunity of learning and sharing. Thank you, Dr. Charu, Dr. Vanti.
Thank you, Manjula. And ma'am, with your permission, shall I share your email ID with the students on the chat box here?
Yes, ma'am. It's perfectly all right. Thanks a lot. It's okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let
Thank
them
you, Dr.
refer, ma'am. My request to each of them would be, please refer to this session. Okay. This so that it's easier for me to connect.
Wow, 4 session from Chennai. That will be their.
Your name is enough, Dr. Vanati. If they say refer Dr. Vanati, the job is done. they could ask for moon by taking your name, so it's perfectly all right.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Stephen. Thank you, Manjula. And thank you so much, all students here. Great day to you all.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It was a delight, and we'll stay in touch. The journey between with all of us have just started. Between all of us, Dr. Vanati and I were in touch, but Dr. Stephen, Dr. Manjula, Dr. Vanati, and all the 80 students I can see, or 81 plus, let us stay connected, because we'll help each other by being in touch. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I leave now?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Manjula ji. Stay in touch.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
Thank you,
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.